Before I get started with this video, yes, I have run out of breakfast whiskey. I need to buy more, and potentially some absurdly overproof rum because it goes well with the coffee, and a teaspoon is enough to get you buzzed for quite a while. Secondly, seeing as I apologize for nothing, heads up, I will be using the phrases stupid, dumb, idiotic, imbecilic, and moron heavily throughout this entire video. Shout out to Rahim Kassam on Twitter. He's good people saying, everyone has become cringe, it's rubbish, everyone has gone mental, especially the chicks. And astute observation, I happen to concur. So, with that being said, ladies, we need to have a word. Not you genuine right-wing ladies in the comment section, you're fine, you have sense, hence why you're watching this video. No, the rest of them. They need to be spoken to, not with. Very important distinction. If we look at this tweet, I now have men calling me a whore and idiot for speaking on the topic of women's birth control. It's going to be so fascinating to watch Republicans lose in November because women can't vote for them, and then they'll just screech about the 19th. Repeal the 19th is defund the police for the right. Again, I don't hate women. However, Dave, can you help me out here?
You could. Shut the fuck up.
Excellent advice. See, ladies, here's the thing. You can't on the one hand tell us we're sexist if we don't listen to you, and then when you say this objectively stupid shit, call men sexist for telling you you're saying objectively stupid shit. You can't have it both ways. If you can't handle your dumb opinions being scrutinized, again, Dave.
Shut the fuck up.
Thank you, Dave. And that goes for everyone, by the way. As far as the tweet goes, there is a reason why people call you a whore and an idiot. I think it's because she used to be a, how can I say this politely? A rather unsavory sort of character who went by the name of Sex Laptop about 10 years ago and then rebranded, and now has almost 900,000 followers on the Twitter. I wonder how that happened, and seems to never shut up about women's issues and rarely says anything useful ever. Couple that with the fact you say dumb shit like repeal the 19th is defund the police for the right. First off, defund the police was attempted and resulted in nothing but corruption and a whole bunch of politicians spending money on private security. Funny how that one ended up. That can be conducted on a small scale and tank. It's not a federal level move. It was a grifting move to cash in on the feelings of a bunch of morons who whine because the reality is their communities commit far too much crime, hence why the police are rather heavy-handed there. No more, no less. So it's just a stupid move all around. Whereas the police, men of force, a warrior class, is an objective necessity for society. You voting is not necessary at all. And considering your main issue that you always seem to never shut up about is some or other woman's issue, and you always seem to get petty when a man speaks on the issue or challenges you, this is the reason why there is a backlash to women in politics. What's been making the rounds is some clip about Charlie Kirk talking about birth control. By the way, Charlie Kirk is utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of things, but anyway. The women who tweet about this, and they're all supposedly conservative, by the way, get massively owned on their own posts because the men will objectively listen to what's being said and the women just react to it. They seem to be utterly incapable of understanding the concept of pattern recognition and that politics is about society, not their own personal bloody grievances. They can't formulate a coherent political opinion without getting their ovaries involved. Men see this pattern play out repeatedly and ask themselves, we have more pressing social concerns. Why on earth are we bothering with this bollocks? This is a waste of energy and resources. They don't hate you because you're women. They hate you because you waste time talking about irrelevant shite. And you appear all the more petty when there's women who agree with this and you label them as pick-me's. Being men, owners of the wang wisdom of rationality and pragmatism over here, think, how does listening to you in any way help with the current state of society? Oh right, it doesn't. So just cut them out of the equation altogether. Problem solved. Take a look at things like abortion and birth control, for example. If a bunch of women are sexually reckless and getting pregnant left, right, and freaking center as abortion numbers go through the roof, that is a social issue, you fucking wankers. The question is, why is this happening? Not why must this somehow involve the state? Close your legs, for heaven's sakes. This is ridiculous. This is not the hatred of any individual women. Through repeated expressions of asinine behavior, a negative pattern has formed and certain traits are now associated with a group. When you engage with a member of this group, senses are heightened and are on the lookout for these traits. If you happen to not exhibit these negative traits, we don't have a problem with you. Simple as. Let me explain this because apparently you XXs don't understand this. We're talking about demographics, voting majorities over here. This is not about any individuals, this is a game of mass numbers because democracy is cringe, read some Aristotle. And by the way, the most outspoken proponents of repealing the 19th are women. Maybe ask them why. As is the case with anything, the cream of the crop is few in numbers. The smart ladies, God bless you, they know for every smart one of them, there are 9 who are dumber than a box of doorknobs. So they can rationally understand sacrificing their own right to vote because the outcomes will be objectively better. Plus, they don't have to waste time with stupid politics. Happy days. Here's how this all looks from the outside, because again, I hate this faction warring crap, but a him was right, everyone is cringe. Within this so-called conservative bubble, there's at least two factions, a small group of genuine right-wingers, and then there's these grifting idiots who are by no means conservative at all. As why I said before in the previous video, if you are for women's equality and women's suffrage, you're not a right-winger, nor a conservative. You're yesterday's progressive. You're a disgruntled freaking liberal. And they say the dumbest things that make me go, how have you mastered a fucking belt buckle, for heaven's sakes? Like Mike Cernovich, who's an absolute moron. Women do most of the political organizing, poll watching, calls to Congress, getting petitions signed. You name it, and it's women doing it. If I had to choose, would want women in my campaign more than men. The Repeal the 19th bros are doing what exactly? First off, if you're over 40 and you're casually using the word bro, no one should ever listen to you. Immediate disqualify. Secondly, you daft git. Women not having the capacity to vote does not prohibit them from doing any of the activities you just mentioned. Do these people ever think before they voice their opinions, or does it just fall out of their hollow skulls? But hypothetically, let's say it did, and only men were allowed to participate even in those activities. How many conservative men versus liberal men would you end up with? Curious. And when the women do finally learn some sense, they always sound like a man and make the point that men were making in the bloody first place. Like this one from Savannah Hernandez. PSA, if we want to stop driving women away from the right wing, we need to stop talking to women like they're men. Men and women are not the same, says the man. Women are equal to men, says the dumbass woman, much to the dismay of Queen Victoria. Over 100 years later, we need to stop talking to women like they're men. So you are admitting you are not equal to us, and you've wasted over 100 bloody years to arrive at the conclusion men already reached several centuries ago. I want to end this rant by reading the following by one Professor Stephen Baskerville, The Sisterhood of the Bureaucratized Welfare State. The political manipulation of motherhood point to feminism's most institutionalized achievement, not eliminating gender roles, which it has not done and can never do, but politicizing and bureaucratizing feminine ones. By trying to eliminate the sexual division of labor that was the basis for family life, feminists have not created a gender-neutral utopia with men and women interchangeably caring for children and earning wages. Instead, they've merely placed women as well as men on the employment treadmill. By flooding the workforce with new workers, they have driven down male wages, intensifying pressures on families to send the women into the workforce and for the man to work longer hours, giving him less involvement with his family. The result is big business socialism, where every adult must work and provide tax revenue for the growing state machinery. Meanwhile, children are institutionalized in daycare and extended school days and activities for ever longer hours at ever younger ages, their childhoods regimented in preparation for similar lives as worker bees and suppliers of state revenue. Pushing women into the workforce has hugely expanded government power. While elite feminists proudly pursued high-status traditional male occupations, many more women entered the workforce as functions resembling traditional roles with which they were comfortable. Women in Sweden have not been employed as substitutes for male workers in industry and commerce, but have been the beneficiaries of the expansion of welfare services, writes Patricia Morgan. By 1985, women accounted for 87% of total health, education, welfare employment. Thus, rather than caring for their own children within their own families, women began leaving the home to care for other women's children as part of the public economy. Daycare, early education, professionalized nursing, and ever more social services. Out went unpaid domestic work, and in came the state as provider and employer. But this illusory experiment has not generated an economy in any productive sense. If Swedish women take care of each other's children in exchange for others taking care of theirs, asked Morgan, how much additional output can come out of this? This false economy is precisely the economic bubble about which G.K. Chesterton warned a century ago. He observed, if people cannot mind their own business, it cannot possibly be made economical to pay them to mind each other's business, and still less to mind each other's babies. The whole really rests on a plutocratic illusion of an infinite supply of servants. When we offer any other system as a career for women, we are really proposing that an infinite number of them should become servants of a plutocratic or bureaucratic sort. Ultimately, we are arguing that a woman should not be the mother to her own baby, but a nursemaid to somebody else's baby. But it will not work, even on paper. We cannot all live by taking in each other's washing, especially in the form of pinafores. In the last resort, the only people who either can or will give individual care to each of their individual children are the individual parents. The only benefit this change can give to women is to increase not their affluence, although this may have been part of the short-term temptation, and certainly not their leisure, but their power. the power against their husbands that accrued from a separate paycheck, and with it, the ability and willingness to divorce. But the real beneficiary is the state. For this trend has transformed child-rearing from a private family matter into a public, communal, and taxable activity, expanding the tax base and with it the size and power of the state. While the elite sisters in traditional male occupations drive down male wages, lower productivity, and fuel inflation. Likewise, a political class paid from those taxes has taken command positions over vastly expanded public education and social services bureaucracies, where they supervise other women who look after other people's children, further expanding the size and scope of the state into what had been private life. I need more alcohol. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.